In January, ScaleTrains announced a new tier of their models, hypotypical. What does this mean? Today I have the first in-scale hypotypical locomotive, a GE ET44 GEVO. This video is brought to you with support from Trains.com. You can use the promo code JimmyDIY to get $10 off your order of $50 or more. You can check them out at the link in the description. Hey everybody, my name is Jimmy. Welcome to Coffee and Trains. Today I am drinking some Dunkin' Donuts coffee that I put in the Keurig. So if you want to tell me what kind of coffee you are drinking and have it featured, just like these guys right here, you can put that in the comments below, and who knows, you might see your name pop up on an episode of Coffee and Trains. Cheers, guys. ScaleTrains up to this point has focused mainly on producing high detail models that are prototypically accurate to a locomotive or piece of rolling stock that physically exists or did exist, and they model it the exact way that they are made in real life. This meant specific paint schemes and plastic detail parts for distant variations of models. These were their rivet counter line, and they are pretty spectacular models. But there are a couple of issues for us consumers. One, these things sell out fast, and I mean fast. A lot of these, the only way to guarantee that you get one is to pre-order. And two, a lot of model railroaders do not need or want the prototypically accurate detail of an exact locomotive that existed at an exact certain point in time. This is where hypotypical comes in. Hypotypical uses the same molds and parts as rivet counters, but because the constraint of having to be 100% prototypically accurate is removed, ScaleTrains can make more locomotives with the same high detail tooling. This means it is easier and less expensive to produce additional models, which means more trains for us. They can also do new paint schemes on the same tooling and offer small run paint schemes without having to create new tooling for a new model. For example, let's say a Class 2 railroad uses an old SD40-2 that has done some modifications to it. It would not be a good idea to create new tooling for what could potentially only be a few modelers' needs. But a paint scheme that gets a model pretty close is more than likely going to make those modelers happy. On the ScaleTrains side, hypotypical can help generate additional revenue from previously made tooling so that they can afford to do those new, smaller runs of their rivet counter line and even the higher ones. They may not make as much money, which means more of a variety of trains for us modelers. Enough about the hypotypical line. Let's look at the locomotive.
Now, one thing I should mention is why this is a hypotypical and not a standard issue, and that is because of the paint scheme. The paint scheme is the Norfolk Southern Thoroughbred rather than the Norfolk Southern Horsehead, which is the more modern one, which is what the ET44's got. Here's a picture of one out of South Carolina.
The ET44 GEVO is the epitome of the modern North American diesel. These things are all over the place. If you're used to rivet counter detail on your models, this will not disappoint. The model is gorgeous. It has loads of separately applied detail parts and painted on details. I'm still amazed that you can get this level of detail in scale, and at this price point as well. This locomotive, DCC ready, is $145, and it is crazy detailed. Now, I originally was going to put a non-sound decoder in this, but since Digitrax came out with a sound decoder, I decided to install their new E24 sound decoder in it. I added a speaker and programmed it, and here it is. Overall, I think this is a good move for ScaleTrains. It gets more trains on the market for us modelers, which in the world of pre-orders is really good. Most model railroad companies that produce trains in mass have several models that they continuously make new runs of, and if the GEVO is going to be one of these with rivet counter detail, that's going to be a good choice. GEVOs are everywhere in North American railroads. Personally, I look forward to more hypotypical runs. Maybe we can get some cool fantasy schemes that we wouldn't have normally got, or some runs of smaller railroads on these big modern locomotives. Who knows? I'm interested to see where ScaleTrains takes this. Before we go, check out some of these model railroad businesses.
Mini Prints creates 3D printed detail parts, figures, and animals that make your model railroad layout come alive. Get 15% off with code DIY15 at miniprints.com. Klondike's is a family-owned business that makes in-scale T-track modules, mini diorama kits, and in-scale display stands right here in the US. You've seen me feature many of their modules right here on this channel. Check them out at the link in the description.
If you want to check out some more of the in-scale rivet counter locomotives that ScaleTrains has done, I've got them linked right here, some of the reviews that I've done. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, I'm Jimmy from the DIY and Digital. Stay safe, be kind, drink some coffee, and happy railroading.